Yeah, so actually my Korean name is Tae Hun Yo, kind of a unique last name. But when I was a youngster, when I first came to the U.S., the principal of my elementary school decided to give me an American name, thus Tad Yo. So it stuck with me all this time throughout my entire life. I was born in actually Seoul, South Korea. Uh, we came to the United States November of 1981. I have five older sisters, and we came together with my father. Unfortunately, my mom passed when I was younger, when I was 8. So that was kind of the driver of why we came to the United States. And we first somehow ended up in Mount Clemens, Michigan. It's about 30 minutes northeast of Detroit. And I grew up there for the first 6 months in the United States, and then moved out to Colorado about 6 months later. You know, the early 80s, the economy wasn't that good in the US, especially Detroit. So we decided to move to Denver. And that's where I spent the second half of my life pretty much, all the way from elementary school, middle school, high school, college, MBA, and ultimately I ended up in California, but that was after I graduated from the University of Denver. You know, when I was young, I never thought that I was smart enough to be an attorney, nor to be a doctor. So I made an early decision that I was going to be a businessman. When I was I remember when I was an undergrad, I took a business law class. And then also, I graduated actually high school early. And for 6 months, I interned at a law firm in Colorado called Pendleton and Sabian. So I was an intern in high school. And through that internship, I learned that I wasn't cut off to be an attorney. So I made my decision early that I wasn't going to go down the law or medical path. Out of MBA school, I ended up at Time Warner Cable. I had an internship at Time Warner in Denver, and kind of parlayed that into a job in Los Angeles. I had an illustrious career at Time Warner for about 15 years, and it was a great career. I launched a lot of new products. After high-speed online, we launched HDTV, digital video recorder service, and it was a lot of fun. And but it was also a lot of stress. I was a young guy, and I was spending way too much time in the office, and I just got married, and it was a time for a kind of transition. So in 2009, the company was going through a lot of transition. There were a lot of mergers and acquisitions happening within the cable industry. People like me had to exit. But luckily I had a contract, so I took a 2-year sabbatical. So in my sabbatical, I noticed that there weren't enough Korean baseball players anymore. One of my young friends when I was younger was Chan Ho Park, who kind of revolutionized professional sports for Koreans. He was the first Korean to come to the United States to play professional sport. And we became friends when I first came out to LA from Denver. So I wanted to help him. And Scott Boras had approached Chan Ho about wanting to meet with him about his arbitration years and his contract. In baseball talk, after 3 years of service, you're eligible to earn more salary. So me being friends with Chan Ho, so he asked me if I would go meet with Scott at his offices in Costa Mesa. So I came down here by myself and met with Scott and his team of folks and got the information that Chan Ho needed in terms of furthering his career. At that time, Chan Ho had a Korean agent, but he wanted to really get the right information. And Scott Boras is a type that was always at the game, so he would always see him. And majority of the team that was on the Dodgers staff at the time, Darren Dreifort, Kevin Brown, they were all Scott Boras clients. So obviously there was the interaction that occurred. So after I met with Scott, I thought he provided some really good information about Chan Ho's career. I told Chan Ho, and we ended up meeting with Scott down in Costa Mesa together on an off day, and he got the same information that Scott gave to me. And he was convinced at that time that the best thing for him to do was to switch agents, and that's when he switched to Scott Boras. And Scott really did a great job of managing his arbitration years. But that experience gave me the knowledge and know-how to approach Scott in that winter of 2010, I believe, and say, look, I think we need to see more Korean baseball players in the United States. Your firm has guys that represent Dominican, guys that represent African American, white players. But why not Asia? So I had a nice lunch with Scott, and that lunch parlayed into an opportunity to work with him. And then he gave me the title of Executive Director of Baseball Operations for Asia. And that's how I ended up linking all my business experience and trying to recruit players from Korea. And the first player I was able to recruit with Scott was Shin-Soo Choo, who ultimately signed one of the largest contracts in baseball history at $130 million. It lasted a week because Tanaka signed right after that with New York. But still, it was a milestone accomplishment for the Asian community to have one of their own sign a contract of that magnitude. And Chu has lived up to his contract to the T in Texas. He's making his own mark, but I have no doubt that Chan Ho Park, who established himself back in the mid-90s and early 2000s, that these youngsters who are here now are having their success because of him. That's how I started in baseball. I mean, in reality, because of Chan Ho, I learned, I met Scott Boras, and when I left Time Warner, I wanted to see if I could make a legacy of my own and make a difference in the world. And it just happened that baseball was my calling, and it happened that way. So I've been doing this for since 2010. I consulted for Scott for a couple of years, and then I started working full time for him in 2012, I believe. And then I've been doing it full time ever since. And managing my crop of players, ranging from Chu to Ryu. But also, with Scott, we did the largest free agent contract for a Korean American, Shin-Soo Choo. We did the first ever posted player in Hyunjin Ryu, so the first player to come over from Korea to the United States. And then his home team, Hanwha Eagles, got $27 million, and then Hyunjin signed for $36 million. We also brought the first free agent from Korea over in Yoon Sung-min. Sung-min didn't have the success that I would have hoped in Baltimore. He played 1 year of minor league baseball and went back to Korea to play for the Kia Tigers. But he was the first one to come over as a free agent and sign in the United States with Baltimore Orioles. I think business was my calling, and that's what I've been doing. But sports is my passion, and that's why I decided to do what I'm doing now. When I give my advice to youngsters is to live your passion. Have a balanced life, but do what you love. Because especially now, I mean, you have all the opportunities here in this wonderful country. Why not? Why pigeonhole yourself into doing something because that's what they think you should be doing, right? Whether it be an engineer or whatever. And there's so many things that you can do right now. And as we've become more enculturated into American culture, there's more opportunities for us. I wish when I was younger, I had someone like myself that I could look up to see, because I would have, I think, had that vision or passion earlier in my life versus always just focusing on making money or having a Fortune 500 career. Because that was all my goals when I was younger. That I wanted to become a Fortune 500 CEO, the first Asian to do so, that type of stuff. And although I had a great career at Time Warner, and I would never throw that away, but I think especially the generation now, there's so many opportunities for them. So I implore the generation that's coming next to me to really seek out your passion and do what you love. I've been religious most of my life. I attended church. I mean, that's one of the things you do when you're an immigrant, right? You go to church right away. When I first came to California, I went to church and met friends that way. I'm not like a devout Christian. I'm not a deacon of a church or anything like that. But I'm a firm believer in God. And I know that whatever I do, positive and negative, is reflective of Him. So I try to do everything in my life that glorifies His name. And if I make mistakes along the way, He'll punish me before I go up there. But for right now, I've taken kind of a different approach to things in terms of helping people or whatever. It'll all come back. So don't worry about what you're getting back or whatever. Just give. When you can give, give. Because I'm not going to be able to give this anymore in about a year. When I leave Scout Boris and when I leave the baseball profession and do something on my own, I won't be able to provide what I'm providing now. So do it while you can, and ultimately you'll be rewarded for it anyway. So, I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, I guess if I had to leave another message, do what you can for the community that you're living in. My name is Tad Yo, and this is my Korean American story.